Have you ever stood at the edge of the ocean, felt the waves brush against your legs, and noticed those slippery green strands wrapping gently around your ankles? Maybe you've seen sheets of it wrapped around sushi, or crispy flakes sprinkled over ramen, and casually called it a sea plant without thinking twice. It seems simple enough. It grows in water, it's green, or sometimes brown or red, and it looks like something you'd find in a garden, just underwater. But here's the twist. Seaweed isn't exactly what most of us think it is. Today, we will untangle the truth about seaweed and discover where it really belongs in the living world, right here on History of Simple Things. For thousands of years, coastal communities simply treated it as another type of plant. In ancient China, Japan, and Korea, seaweed was harvested as food as early as 300 BCE. In Europe, it was used as fertilizer and even burned to extract iodine and soda ash. But it wasn't until the 18th and 19th centuries, when scientists began classifying living organisms more carefully, that confusion started to surface. Under the microscope, seaweed didn't quite behave like land plants. As biology advanced, especially after the development of modern cell theory and genetic analysis, researchers realized seaweed didn't belong neatly in the plant kingdom at all. So what exactly is seaweed? First, it helps to understand that seaweed isn't a single scientific category. It's a casual umbrella term people use to describe large marine algae. And algae are a diverse group of organisms that live mostly in water and perform photosynthesis, meaning they use sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to make their own food, just like plants do. That's where the confusion begins. If it photosynthesizes, isn't it a plant? Not necessarily. Seaweeds are generally divided into three major groups: green algae, chlorophyta, brown algae, phaeophyceae, and red algae, rhodophyta. Each group has distinct pigments that give them their color. Green algae contain chlorophyll, just like land plants. Brown algae have an additional pigment called fucoxanthin, which gives them that olive or brownish shade. Red algae contain phycoerythrin, allowing them to absorb blue light and survive in deeper waters. Let's look at the largest and most dramatic members of the seaweed family, kelp. Kelp forests, found along cool coastal waters like those off California and parts of Japan, can grow astonishingly fast, some species up to half a meter per day under ideal conditions. They form towering underwater forests that provide shelter and food for countless marine species. But despite their plant-like appearance, kelp lack true roots, stems, and leaves. Instead, they have structures that resemble them. Holdfasts anchor them to rocks, stipes act like stems, and blades function like leaves. These structures look similar, but are biologically different from those of land plants. The key difference lies deeper, in their cells. Land plants belong to the kingdom Plantae. They evolved from green algae hundreds of millions of years ago and developed complex tissues, vascular systems to transport water and nutrients, and protective adaptations to survive on land. Seaweeds, on the other hand, are mostly classified under the kingdom Protista, though classification systems continue to evolve with genetic research. Brown algae like kelp are actually more closely related to certain single-celled organisms than they are to oak trees or grass. In other words, seaweed isn't a plant in the strict scientific sense, it's algae. One major distinction is that seaweeds do not have true vascular systems. Land plants use specialized tissues called xylem and phloem to move water, minerals, and sugars throughout their bodies. Seaweeds rely on diffusion, meaning nutrients move from cell to cell, directly through water. This works perfectly in an aquatic environment, but would fail on dry land. Another difference is reproduction. While some seaweeds can reproduce sexually, many also reproduce through spores or fragmentation. Certain species have complex life cycles that alternate between different forms, sometimes switching between microscopic and large visible stages. These life cycles can be far more varied than those of most land plants. So if seaweed isn't technically a plant, why do we still call it that? Partly because of habit. The word weed itself just means an unwanted or abundant plant-like organism. Seaweed grows in thick clusters, sways like grass, and photosynthesizes like a plant. For everyday conversation, calling it a plant feels close enough. Science, however, prefers precision, and precision says seaweed belongs to various groups of algae, not true plants. Beyond classification, seaweed plays an enormous role in Earth's ecosystems. Seaweeds contribute significantly to global oxygen production. While microscopic phytoplankton do most of the heavy lifting, large marine algae also absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen through photosynthesis. Kelp forests act as carbon sinks, capturing carbon and helping regulate climate systems. They also create habitat structures similar to forests on land, supporting fish, sea urchins, sea otters, and countless invertebrates. Humans, of course, have long recognized its value. In East Asian cuisines, seaweed varieties like nori, wakame, and kombu are dietary staples. They're rich in iodine, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. In agriculture, seaweed extracts are used as fertilizers and soil conditioners. In industry, compounds derived from red algae like agar and carrageenan are widely used as thickeners in food products, cosmetics, and even microbiology labs. So where does that leave us? Seaweed looks like a plant. It behaves like a plant in some ways. It photosynthesizes, grows towards sunlight, and forms forest-like structures. But at a cellular and evolutionary level, it's something different. It belongs to diverse groups of algae, organisms that share traits with plants, yet followed their own distinct evolutionary paths. And that simple question, plant or something else, turns out to reveal an entire hidden world beneath the surface. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.